Welcome to the Field Notes podcast, presented by Seaworthy Functional Medicine. Seaworthy exists to help you overcome your complex health challenges so you can be fully vital. Now, here's your host, Dr. Rob Downey.
What are the deeper dimensions we need to know about for the therapeutic use of mushrooms, which are a really hot topic for legitimate reasons, but boy, is there just a whole set of extra dimensions here that are absolutely awesome. We are so fortunate today to be joined by Benjamin Bressington. Benjamin, thanks for your time this morning.
Hey, my pleasure, Dr. Rob.
Morning in Alaska, I should say.
Exactly.
So you've got an interesting background in law and criminology and helping Fortune 100 companies. You're an author, like so many, whole array of things that you've done to come to this date. But now the big deal for you is the use of therapeutic mushrooms. And my audience, who I thank for joining us, has gotten pretty accustomed to what seems to be the most useful. If you're a superhero, which we're going to acknowledge right off the bat, what's your origin story? How did you come to fall in love with mushrooms as a powerful and necessary tool for people's well-being?
Yeah, well, it was through a personal experience through the medical system, right? So we spent, my ex-wife and I spent over 6 years going through IVF and infertility. And we went to see fertility specialists all around the world. We did like the month in Spain, seeing all the specialists over there and the craziness. But I saw how little was known about the female body and the reproductive process. But I also experienced firsthand the trauma that her body was getting put through, the side effects that her body was having to deal with, and the lifelong changes that occurred to her because of the medications and everything she was taking, and the side effects of some of these medications and the exploratory surgeries they wanted to do to run your entire intestines with a 40+% chance she'd end up with a colostomy bag. And she was like, I think that's a valid process. I'm like, hell no, that's not a valid process. Like, that is like, I know you want the baby, but that's not the way to get there. Like, and so it was that constant quest of going, okay, at that point became disenchanted with this knowledge. I'm like, there has to be more to this. There has to be more of an understanding, not just this minute focus. Like, how do we approach holistically? Like, I know this chart on the wall you can only see part of is looks to the whole holistic elements of the body and how everything's connected. So it was going through that experience, and then going through an experience with my own depression as an entrepreneur, and someone who's always trying to push to the next level. Like, I had depression. I had the stuff that would sit me on the couch, or I was doing great stuff, but I could go to Disneyland or Disney World and not experience joy, not experience happiness. So I'm in the happiest place in the earth, right? In the world, allegedly. And I was a miserable, grumpy person because it was just like, yeah. And it was only through mushroom experiences that allowed me to deal with and open up the trauma that I had or I was repressing, and then help me get rid of my depression and my anxiety and move through. And I saw firsthand the true benefit, like, from one session, not weeks with therapists, which just didn't end up working for me. And I'd have therapist after therapist, and you do all the talk therapies and you do this and you do all the self-help stuff, but nothing made a difference to my life. And the more I got into it, it was just understanding that roller coaster of health, your body, how I was having 6 to 8 Monster energy drinks a day with maybe 5 or more coffees as well, right? Like, and I did that for years, and I was wondering why I wasn't sleeping well. It's this lack of education or awareness that I had, and now moving into this world, I gave up everything else we were doing, and we literally have a goal now of empowering a million people on the holistic health journey with mushrooms. And what we want to do is we want to feed over 1 million people with our mushroom food that we're going to be delivering over the next 12 months. And we want to just make a difference in people's lives. And we want to help them get healthy with whatever that means to them, We're not saying this is what healthy is. You don't need six-pack abs. You don't need that. It's more aligning, okay, where are you at, where you wanting to go, and helping you unlock a new level of being able to thrive in today's life, if that makes sense.
Mm. Well, yeah, yeah. It often feels to me like there's many doorways into health, and this is one of the most beautiful. Our audience is going to want to know how'd the fertility thing go. They're going to be on me for, not finding
It, it,
out.
it, it didn't end up working out after
Uh,
multiple rounds of IVF.
okay.
Her endometriosis was quite severe.
Mm,
I know endometriosis is a catch-all, but it was getting to the point where I could see that, like, if we were going to carry a baby to term, or if she was going to carry a baby to term, I should say, it was more than likely that I would have a strong chance if I would have to choose one or the other. And I was
yeah.
like, well, I don't want to have to make that choice because that's a very, very tough choice to make. And she was always like, well, choose the baby. I'm like,
Hmm.
that is not even a winning conversation. So
Yeah.
I know that was after many attempts, she wanted to keep trying IVF and going through that. And I just said, well, after 6 years, I think it's like I'm not willing to put you through it. And I don't think
Hmm.
she understood that, but she's now, after multiple years, understanding like the toll. Like she's had now intolerances, intestinal issues, and still to this day is very sick from the treatment protocols
Hmm.
that we'd gone through with all the IVF.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, thank you. Uh, so there's a couple places we could go with this. Let me set the stage for the audience. So you're going to talk to us about the way that your product is derived really is very significant in terms of having all of the different constituents of the mushrooms that are helpful sort of present in their intact constellation. And also the potency is really
Mhm.
high. So that's important to talk about. But I think probably the segue that makes the most sense is to talk about mushrooms as these sort of multifaceted
Mhm.
um, gifts of the earth.
Mhm.
And probably we should just use that segue you provided. We should talk about how somebody could have energy without coffee, what's going on with coffee and caffeine, and then these as adrenal adaptogens.
Mhm.
I think that's kind of, let's segue into how they work that way. And then how your product is derived, which sets it apart, knowing there's more to do than we can do today. People can check you out around really cool things about Amanita and about, mushroom plant journeys, etc. So there's a whole world for
Mhm.
people to explore with you, but let's do those pieces next.
Yeah. So one of the big things I wasn't aware of was caffeine, and I would classify myself on the scale of caffeine pool. Like there's a whole scale, and I was the one. Like if I would buy my Monster Energy drinks from Costco by the slab, 24 cans to a case, and that would last me 2 days. And then there was coffee on top of this, like all this other stuff, right? So extreme users, right? And there's a guy in my warehouse who was drinking 6 cans of Monster Energy drink a day, and he was having half a bottle of NyQuil a night to go to bed. But he'd been doing this for in excess of 10 years. Like this was just life for him. And one of the things that once he understood, and I didn't understand how caffeine was being used. So first of all, let's address caffeine, right? With caffeine, most energy drinks, or we load it also with sugar. So you're not just chasing a caffeine adrenal stimulation, and therefore maxing out your body's hormonal response in massive ways. You're also having this sugar circle, this hamster wheel that you're on. That's why you have a coffee crash. And I wasn't aware that when you have caffeine, it actually tells your body to fake energy. It's just like Dr. Rob needs energy. Let's give him energy, but it's not generating energy. It's like it's stimulating as though you have energy. It's faking that energy, hence why you crash. And some people crash in as little as 30 minutes. This was me. That's why you reach for that second cup, that third cup, because I've got to get to a certain point. I've got to stop just before I get the jitters, so I can kind of get into that flow state, right? And then you know that you crash. You've got 2 to 3 hours of productivity. Where when you use something like cordyceps, as a mushroom or a natural adaptogen, which is this is why we call it a clean energy. It actually tells your body to produce energy, not fake energy. And this is why you can have smooth, clean energy. We call it clean energy because there's no crash. There's no jitters. It's just a clean, like you feel energized to get stuff done. You're moving. And what you don't realize is you're not feeling that itch to reach for that second, third, fourth cup of whatever it is or whatever that wheel you're on, which then when you're talking about the impact of that over 24 hours, 72 hours, you're talking about you're not having the dumps, the hormonal dumps that you have. You're not having that roller coaster. You're not having all of that acid in your stomach, which is then impacting your ability to process food and receive nutrients. Like it's amazing how just from a cup of coffee. And look, I'm not a proponent and I'm not going to be here to saying you should drink mushroom coffee. Like I think mushroom coffee tastes like crap. I would not recommend anyone to buy mushroom coffee just because I know what goes in it. What you can do is turn your coffees into a superfood by adding mushrooms because we've already got a favorite coffee. We've already got a favorite tea or a smoothie or whatever it is. So don't try and replace it. You can adapt it. And I think that's where some of the power in our future is rather than trying to settle. Because I talk to most people and like, yeah, I've got 2 or 3 bags of mushroom coffee in the cupboard and it just tastes nasty. I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. Don't bother with it. Like, don't waste your money on it. And we can talk about that later if you want. But does that make sense? And I think from the layman perspective, like understanding the difference of what's happening when we're processing caffeine allows us to start to treat it differently and go, well, what is really better for me?
Mhm. Yeah, thank you so much. I think the uh, the thing I'm guessing now that my audience might like about me as a host is I had a brilliant naturopathic doctor mentor, Hilary Daly, trained at Bastyr in Washington.
Yep.
And then that connected me to Jeff Bland and Joseph Pizzorno, the founder of Bastyr. And so I love when I get to talk to experts like you because I feel like I was blessed to have people show me these pages out of old playbooks and their beauty and uh, therapeutic mushrooms like cordyceps have so many fascinating dimensions. And one of them is that uh, my experience in training has been similar to yours, that instead of revving uh, an engine that's already over revved or whipping a mule that's tired in the sun, we're
Hmm.
giving the mule water, grass, and rest, or we're having the engine function optimally, not trying to rev it. So I think this will be a really nice off ramp. I think it's really, I perceive it as humane and commonsensical to acknowledge people's beverage and sort of
Hmm.
encourage them to level up as a next step. I often talk to people about don't sink you can't hop off the lily pad you're on until you build the one you're going to hop to. So I think if they add
Exactly.
your product to something they already have some reliance on, maybe that's a step to ripping off the Band-Aid next.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I really realized after talking to hundreds of clients is how we optimized our products. And one of the big difference we did is we created blends that allow you to adapt what you need on a daily basis.
Mm.
Unlike everyone else, it's like a one size fits all. It's one thing. It's like, well, I know today I'm going to be having meetings, but I'm also not feeling my normal sparkly shiny self. I
Mhm.
just feel a little rough around the edges. So we've got ones optimized around mood and uplift, and you can combine that with performance. So now you can have the mental performance you want plus feeling good. Well, then you've got the relief ones for people who aren't sleeping well or dealing with, they've gone to the gym, they've worked out, they've done sports and activities, and they need to have muscle repair and recovery. And this is one thing as an athlete, you really start to appreciate your recovery days are more important than your actual work days, like your workout days. And I think if we apply this to our own lives, a lot of people aren't allowing themselves to have recovery days so you can actually thrive better tomorrow.
Mhm.
And we're always chasing this stimulation, this overhaul. Like, how many people put their phone away for a weekend or do Sundays as a phone-free Sunday, or even just have a phone-free dinner? And it's amazing when you sit down with some people and you go, well, let's just leave our phones in the other room and like, let's connect. Like you see them itching, you see them twitching, like, and they've got to run to the bathroom to check those messages.
Hmm.
But like, this is, I think when you're looking holistically, it's all of this that makes a big difference for people. It's not just, there's no real miracle cured or anything, as you know. But like there is amazing products, and mushrooms are phenomenal products. What they do with the body, how they are, the ranges of them. I was talking to somebody yesterday. You've got the whole psychedelic range, you've got the whole culinary range, you've got the whole functional range. Some of them fit into all categories, some of them don't. But there's also a lot of fear when it comes to mushrooms. And someone who's traveled the world, like I love that, like you walk through Asia or you walk around Paris in France, and you'll have the clinics are herbally driven first. You smell them before you see them.
Mm.
And like you go in there and they're going to treat you with herbs and potions first before pharmacy, which is quite fascinating. And we've really extracted some of that with the alchemy we use.
Perfect segue. Well, as we segue then into the process, which is going to be interesting, want to just note again, from my perspective, our audience is benefiting from someone that we really want to have your archetype on the Field Notes podcast because you can't supplement your way out of a lifestyle deficit. But the nice part is when people exercise and they value their recovery and they want to unwed themselves from caffeine or see if it's possible, etc. It it's also worth noting that really good supplements work really well. You're the person
Oh,
I've
yes.
talked to about an array of derivatives of mushrooms that also then leverages this other fascinating thing. I've learned that botanicals, nutraceuticals, supplements, etc., uh, medicinal food, they're like people you know in your town. There
Hmm.
are people you would buy what they bake, but you wouldn't let them fix your car. Or other people you trust them with everything, including, taking care of your dog over the weekend, which we will talk about at the end. But so it's just this is a place people can really turn the volume up. I flashed on it while you were talking. It's like the soundboard at a concert, right? There's all these
Hmm.
places they can reach and combine these things and really tune their therapeutic experience. That sounds super interesting. But what's the process? This is an old process you all use.
Yeah, so we use spagyric alchemy, and it's one of the most expensive, but it's one of the most potent and therapeutically beneficial. And our mission is to provide the best possible products with no fillers, no additives, no synthetics, ever, right? So our mission is always about doing better. And I'll explain what's going on in the world of mushrooms because most people aren't aware. They're seeing all the ads, they're seeing that it's growing into a multi-billion dollar industry, so that you're going to be hearing more of it. More and more people are talking about it, but most people go, I tried that. I didn't feel anything. And I'll give a simple analogy first, if that's okay.
Great.
Because what most people don't realize is that it's kind of like mushrooms are very similar to a banana plant, right? Because I can offer you the beautiful banana fruit, right? And go, hey, here's a beautiful banana. It's been out in the sun. It's full of everything you need and you'll love it, right? We all know what a banana is, right? However, what's happening in the mushroom world and what most people don't realize is people are going, hey, I've got this banana powder, right? And people are going, oh, banana powder sounds like fun. You could put it in your shakes. You can make capsules in it. You can make tinctures with it. It's absolutely amazing. But what they're not telling you is they've removed the banana fruit. So there's no fruit in this. They've just taken the banana tree and pulverized it, right? Or even worse, they may have taken the root base of the banana tree, pulverized it, even with the dirt. And they're saying that it's so potent because it contains everything that the fruit would have contained. But it doesn't. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And this is what's going on in the world of mushrooms. They're actually having this is the difference between the word you'll hear fruiting body, which is the mushroom fruit, the stuff that's grown out of the dirt, versus the mycelium, which is the root system. Is I'm just going to use it in layman's terms. So you can have products derived out of the root systems of the mushrooms. it doesn't have the same potency. It doesn't have the same efficacy. It doesn't have the same bioavailability as though you have the fruit. It's no difference between eating the banana tree versus eating the banana. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why there's a whole bunch of these mushroom supplements out there that are going, we got 10,000 milligrams of our proprietary blend. Okay. What they're not telling you is 10,000 milligrams of ground roots that really, when you have it, you're not going to feel it. You could have 1,000,000 milligrams of that stuff, and it's still never going to be a therapeutic dose. So, the world of mushrooms, one of the worst things in this is it is just the wild, wild west. And most people don't know the difference. And I'll explain some of the extractions because once you understand this, you now know what to look for and what you're looking at. So now, as a consumer, all I want you to do is make an informed decision. You don't need to buy any of our products. And our products may not work for what you want. That's fine. But what I want you to do is know how to buy quality mushroom products that work for you. Is that okay, Dr. Rob?
Yeah, great. And also this is uh that part that you described, that sounds very much like sort of bench science, but this is an old way of doing this, right? This is based on an
Yes.
old tradition.
This is thousands of years old. It's actually called spagyric alchemy because it's more mystic alchemy. It's how they would extract herbs and potions, and this is how they say they created the elixirs of into gold and things like that. So what I'm going to explain it is there's three types of this process, right? I'm going to use these three bottles as the example. So first of all, we have what we call our water extraction. Think of boiling the kettle, right? And you're boiling the mushrooms in water. This is one of the weakest forms of extraction. Most companies out there are using a water-based extraction. They may say it's a dual extraction, but what they're saying also is it's a dual water extraction. So you've boiled the pot full of mushrooms twice. We used to have an extraction for a mushroom that was very, very powerful, where we boiled it for 5 days straight, a slow rolling boil, 5 days straight. That was what it was, right? And it still worked, but it wasn't as potent as we know it could be because at that stage, you're only going to extract about 50% of the nutrients out of the mushrooms, right? So this is from a water boil. So you've got the water boil, and then next we've got our alcohol boil. So we can go from a water boil because water will extract certain nutrients, salts, fats, beta glucans out of the mushrooms, and then alcohol will extract a different set, a different array, even out of the same mushroom, which is quite fascinating. So now you have your water boil and your alcohol boil. So with spagyric alchemy, we do both, but we do go one step further, and I'll explain that in a second with this third step. So with the alcohol boil, it does the same thing. Some people are like, "Oh my gosh, can't use alcohol. We can't have alcohol." You're missing the benefits of the extraction if you're not adding alcohol because some of the best parts come from the alcohol extraction. So you want a dual extraction that's at least water, at least alcohol, and that can take you somewhere between 20 and 30% bioavailability, the potency out of the mushroom. So we've improved, right? Next, what we do, which makes ours unique, is we add that third step. The third step is we take the mushrooms that's gone through the water, it's gone through the alcohol. So now think of it as a giant mushroom, right? We take that and we go put it through a process of calcification. What that means is we light it on fire and burn it back into ash. Why do we burn it back into ash? Because what it does is this is part of the spagyric alchemy. You're taking all of the salts, all of the minerals, you're turning it into its raw form, charcoal effectively, right? Ash. And that gets mixed back into the blend, the tincture that's been created from the water and the alcohol. And now you have 95% or more bioavailability. That means your body could process up to 100% of the nutrition from the mushrooms because none of it has been wasted. It's burnt back in. So that's why when you'll have a spagyric extraction supplement or a tincture, you'll feel it hit your tongue. Some people call it like it's a little bit of an alcohol shot because you taste a little bit of the alcoholness, but like you feel it like it's an alive compound that's hitting your tongue and you feel it within minutes. Does all of that make sense?
Oh yeah. So it feels very intuitive and
Yeah.
yeah, just very exciting. I think my mentor would love this, Dr. Daly, because when I met her in her naturopathic clinic in Hamilton, Montana, I said, what's back there behind the reception counter? And she said, oh, those are all the things that I've wild extracted over the last 30 years in Montana. And she had 500 amber bottles full of alcohol. Um, so those alcohol extractions alone, just kind of as uh, I'm not an expert in it, so I don't want to mischaracterize it, but just this so what I learned from her is that's an important part in general about pulling
Hmm.
parts out of plants. And then the
Yep.
amount of alcohol, really the only folks that have to have caution would be little tiny kids or, alcoholics who are worried about being triggered by any degree of exposure. But we're just talking about infinitesimally small amounts of exposure. So it's not the
Exactly. And
issue
and for
that.
a lot of people were adding glycerin to now hide the alcohol flavor. It's but it goes through a process. There's alcohol in a lot more things than we're aware of.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
you said a word that's very fascinating, and I think the world of marketing is misusing it. So a lot of people are getting misguided in the world of mushrooms when they say wild harvested or wild forage. Like somebody's trumped through the woods with a little basket and is picking mushrooms, and just because it's wild harvested doesn't make it better per se, particularly if it's just a wild harvested water-based extraction.
Hmm.
So I refer to it to people as saying there's a scale of coffee, right? There's Denny's Waffle House coffee, for example, which like it's okay. I refer to it as swamp water, right? It's not the best form of coffee. You've then got like a nice Italian espresso at the other end, which is a very nice short shot, very potent. That's just spagyric. And so your scale of everything in between goes through there. You might be, well, I'm a Maxwell House or a international roast fan, whatever it is, but that's your scale of coffee. And Starbucks might be in there somewhere, which may be the combination of the two, whatever it is. But we need to think about like once you know what the blends mean, you can now give your body the choice to have the quality stuff. The problem with when you're dealing with spagyric extraction is it's usually only small batch because there's only so much we can run through at a time. This process takes 6 weeks per bottle. 6 weeks to complete that extraction process to provide that potency. But we believe that if we do that for our clients, and then if that becomes the foundation for our gummies and everything else we're doing, you're giving your body a fighting chance over everything else. And that becomes a competitive advantage for us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I'm reminded of this I'm glad you kind of brought up the difference between marketing and service. That's how I would characterize it. I mean, any of us that takes pride in what we do, there's something close to what we do that's not the same.
Yeah.
And I would say that actually the operative word is integrity.
Yeah.
So if our true north is what we would or do use for ourselves or our families to be well,
Yeah.
that's integrity. And if
Hmm.
there's any other reason than service,
Yeah.
then that's something else. And
Yeah.
I,
We say
way
without
back,
compromise. So,
yeah,
like, we're not willing to compromise. And there's a million ways. I'm sure even in your practice, in your business, there's a million ways you could compromise. Every service you provided to each person. And it's a battle you have to waver every single day, unfortunately.
yeah. In a way, I might be spared a little bit in sort of a bizarre way, in that, my dad as a dentist was just so driven. I talk to people now after he's passed away, and they say that the gold crowns he made, practically outlasted them, right? They'd go to
Yep.
Europe and somebody do some emergency dental work and say, wow, who did those gold crowns? Those are just exquisite. So I think as kind of an obsessive, but also
Hmm.
a service-driven purist,
Hmm.
then I have always worried. We won't go into this digression too long, but I think it is important. Uh, Basically, we want people to be part of our array, whatever we choose, whoever we choose to affiliate, use their product, trust their idea. We sense their integrity.
Hmm.
And this isn't me saying this. This is people in the space who've done this for years. What they said is authenticity is the coin of the realm, and people sense it immediately.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it really does matter, because I think what's happening is folks that their compass is a little off, they don't realize they're fibbing to themselves.
Oh yeah,
That's what I think is
100%.
really happening. So anyway, bit of a digression there, but so and I do want to flag this also. By the time people meet me for visit one, they
Hmm.
are suffering
Yes.
intensely. And I did some timid approaches early in my 20 years of functional medicine, and we never got to the therapeutic effect because they were
Hmm.
so underwater, they couldn't get unstuck. And so another thing that I've learned that I think aligns with this idea of trying what you're describing is I think a lot of times there's pent-up energy in the system. The body knows the way, but it wants a whole bunch of new software installed all at once to boot up and sort of
Yep.
break the spell. And I think that's a
Yeah.
really neat potential way of using what you're describing.
Well, when you're also talking, then you're consuming with spagyric alchemy. They say it's the plant energy is fully embraced. The whole plant element is embraced. You're not just extracting compounds and using a molecule, which is what the world of pharmacy does. You're actually taking the plant's energy and feeding it into a vial, and that's why people tell me this stuff feels alive. It feels like my body craves it as like it's like waking up. Like I look forward to that hitting my tongue,
Yeah.
and that it's exciting because then you have people who come to us who talk about I have inflammation. Well, and we Joe was is now a believer, right? Like as it with everyone, we designed our business differently because I know people have been burnt. I had been burnt, and I'm like, I just don't want to create a company around that because it's all about making a difference. So we go like, you try the sample first, sample the product. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work. We can assess why it didn't work. There may be more of an onboarding process you need with the product because you have to give that your body a bit of a reset when you're trying to go clean. And I think a lot of people misunderstand that. But you're just telling me that Joe has had a phenomenal experience just from one of the gummy products, and he's not alone with that. And it's an amazing product.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just yeah, it totally fits with the whole sort of just mushrooms are superstars. And again, channeling my mentor, right, she would say, this is a really big part of the nature cure. It's part of the beauty of the blessings of the earth.
Yeah.
Um, and so I want to also delve a little bit more into something you just invoked because again, folks familiar with field notes know that there's it thinks I characterize this as body intelligence, like that smell that you
Hmm.
described when you pass a
Hmm.
natural apothecary, the taste on
Hmm.
the tongue, the sense of vibrance. Even I had this experience with two servings of huevo rancheros from the same restaurant and from some similar restaurants in Anchorage within 24 hours. And now
Yep.
they both used to be vibrant and full of life and love.
Hmm.
And one of the ones that I relied on wasn't anymore. I don't know what
Yeah.
changed. But literally, the second the plate hit the table, there was no energy there. It was completely
It was
denuded of
empty.
whatever, force vitae it used to have wasn't there
Yep.
anymore. And so
Yep.
I was hungry enough. I slogged through it. And then I said, okay, I gotta go to the other restaurant tomorrow and reset my experience here. But we
Your
know
body
that
knows.
we know that experience. The body knows the way. And this is where Western industrialized society creates, for lack of a better term. I had the good fortune to interview Austin Perlmutter. I think he might have been a little put off just because he's so rigorously scientific, right? But I talked about breaking the spell. And I think
Hmm.
for part of me, there's sort of a lyrical, poetic sort of the beauty of life, the beauty of the journey of life, the beauty, Joseph Campbell's hero's
Hmm.
journey.
Hmm.
We want people to have the good news to listen to your body and
Hmm.
have these great experiences because they're more within reach than a lot of us realize. And that's kind of part of the job of curating of all the things out there. The problem now isn't is there information. That's not the problem anymore. The problem is there's so much. You need a curated or stewarded guide of this
Hmm.
universe. What subset of things do you potentially want to select?
Yeah, 100%. And there's, yeah, it's so much information. Which angle, which perspective do you feed through? Which lens are you looking at? Like, because we can just take Amanita muscaria as a mushroom, for example. And this is, if you Google this mushroom, it's the Disney mushroom. It's the red mushroom with the white dots. It's the one that's you see everywhere. Some people say Santa Claus was originated from this mushroom. Right? The mushroom history is so interwoven with history and religion that it's actually very, very fascinating. That's a whole other conversation. But if you Google Amanita muscaria, it comes up dangerous. You should not take. The FDA says this, blah, 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 blah. But there's a whole lot of misunderstanding of that because one of the things that people were doing in the Western world versus the Eastern world was we were taking Amanita muscaria and they would make a tea or what have you, but they would take it as a macro dose. So you're having a huge serving of this mushroom, which would make your tummy upset and therefore make you sick and make you have issues, right? But in the Eastern world, right, they would microdose. And when you microdose the mushroom, it is so effective and so potent because your body doesn't need a bucket full of it. It needs less than a teaspoonful of it. And that's why there's so much research and so much history. But it was a miscommunication of how much to use in a serving. It's also a problematic mushroom to refine. So then people cut corners, they compromise, they think they read a blog post, so they know what they're doing, and problems happen. So there is a whole bunch of ancient knowledge with a lot of these mushrooms that, unless you're in the right circles or get access to the right people, you just miss these tiny tweaks that can take something so simple and make it so powerful. I've literally seen people who have broken the limb. So even when you break a limb, the bruising, the swelling is crazy, right? I've seen people where they've broken their limb. They've taken the Amanita gummy and used it topically. The next day, no bruising, no swelling, right? And if you ask any doctor about that, they're like, it happens like every now and again. The drugs are working. I'm like, yeah, but you can repeat this over and over and over again. And the sheer benefits of that. And this is also microdose. And when I say microdose, it's no different to taking a baby aspirin. Baby aspirin is a microdose. Like, so it is used in our world today, but we think it means something totally different than it does. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I think people are going to really be lit up by this. I think, again, we've already intimated there's a whole sort of world for them to explore. You've got books, you've got a website, you've got products. I mean, this is a neat sort of place for them to know. I'm glad we closed with Amanita because, again, uh, when we have the good fortune to talk to people who really know what they're doing, these whole new dimensions open up. Um, and this happens over and over again. There's all these domains where assumptions are made, or there's sort of caricatures of things. And when we
Hmm.
get
Hmm.
down to what's really going on, it looks different.
Oh,
It looks
100%.
different.
Like Amanita muscaria is illegal in Louisiana, the state of Louisiana, because somebody related to a senator at one point in time got sick, and they now like classified an entire thing as cannot be sold here. So there's this whole realm of medicine which is helping people with PTSD, people with inflammation, people with sciatica that is no longer accessible to them and will never be. And any company that has these products gets penalized and scrutinized even more because you might be helping people outside of the scope of your realm. And it becomes very, very fascinating because we get scrutinized by our banks, our financial services, our underwriters every single week. We were heavily scrutinized just over the last few months because the testimonials people were giving us, their feedback that was going on social media. One of our underwriters for our merchant accounts literally says, you need to remove all of that social media that you've got from all these people. We're like, we're not saying it. They're posting it on their social media account. And because they were saying how it helped them and it served them, oh, they can't say that. I'm like, it's their story. Like, I can't gag my clients from a product that's working. Like, what do you want me to do? So it's quite fascinating when you're in this world.
We live in strange times. Thankfully, you and I get to be part of creating these safe harbors in the
Yeah.
midst of stormy seas. Now, we won't have time to get into the combination of cycling and RVing, but we need to hear about the sassiest Cocker Spaniel ever.
Yeah, that would certainly be Bailey. So Bailey, funny enough, my Cocker Spaniel goes mountain biking with me. So I have a backpack, and he sits on my back, and he bikes around the mountains here in Rogers, Bentonville, Northwest Arkansas, and literally that dog gets to travel 40,000 miles a year, just traveling around the country, going exploring great places. So yeah, he is my right hand man.
Happy dog. How old is he?
He would be now 6. So
Mm,
I'm trying to give him the best life. So and now he's
hmm
got the 29 acres to go run around. He's got the spring-fed
mm,
creek there, like completely loves it. So yeah,
mm,
he's enjoying life. So for those who missed that reference is my Cocker Spaniel, and we've just got 29 acres where we're creating our own mushroom farm to grow our own
mm.
mushrooms for our food. We'll be having food products, and we'll be creating a mushroom-based jerky so we can actually feed people in need, create MREs, and one of the things is we'll be donating in excess of 1 million meals over the next 12 months. So
Beautiful.
that's just making a massive difference and giving people another option. Because we get many people who are looking for options, people who have just celiac or intolerances and things like this, and they're like, food becomes so problematic, and treating it with a little bit more respect creates a whole new, it's creating a movement, and it's quite phenomenal.
Anything you wanted to share, Benjamin, that we didn't get to?
I'm sure there is a whole bunch, but if people have questions, I'm more than happy to answer their questions about products they're taking, and the impact of that, and allow people to experience just the world of mushrooms because you don't have to do it alone. We've got a community here to support you. We're willing to help you from every layer of mushroom that you experience. And somebody will always call me and tell me about the mushrooms they used to get from cow patties, or my brother or my dad would run into the cow patty field and get mushrooms. I'm like, I hear that's every gas station I walk into, the attendant usually tries to tell me that story. So it's quite fascinating.
Well, I think there's a lot of doorways into health, and this is one of the most beautiful. And I just would say, this is a pathway in that I really trust and respect and honor and want people to know about. Really a privilege to get to spend time with you today. Thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure.
And as always, it'll be in the show notes and on the different platforms how you can. Oh, how do people find you?
Bearremedy.net. And if they take advantage of the links in the show notes, they'll be able to claim our free sample offer. So you can pay for just the shipping and handling, costs $5.99, and you can get a sample if you want to try the product. And that's because of what we're making available to Dr. Rob.
Cool. Thanks, Benjamin. Thanks for joining us for the Seaworthy podcast. Seaworthy exists to help people overcome their health challenges and be fully vital. If you think we've earned it, please consider giving this podcast a like, subscribing, and giving us a 5-star rating on the platform of your choice. Thanks.